Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of Wowhead Weekly. We've had a ton of stuff going on since we had the last show before Thanksgiving, and we've had, obviously, the 10th anniversary continues to run, but this week we all got our first chance to get into Highmaul, and it has been raid this week. Everyone wants to know all about Highmaul. And so joining me as ever, my co-host and Wowhead site manager, guide writer, and everything extraordinaire in an amazing Bloodfang robe.
Hey everyone!
That is so awesome.
Costume is really awesome.
Yeah. So, we were chatting a little bit about this in the pre-show on Twitch. It's from the Blizzard gear store, I'm guessing.
Yeah, this is a Bloodfang robe, and it's from the Blizzard gear store. It was put up at BlizzCon, and they also have versions for warlocks and a Draenei priest that has a cute tail and horns, and as well as some other robes. But because my main is a rogue, I had to get this one, and it has a super awesome hood with embroidery,
so cool.
And it has really cool things on the arms, and the shoulders are like
super light.
Awesome. So I had to get this, and it's really comfy to wear around the house, and I've been wearing it a lot.
Yeah, it's very cool.
WoW stuff, and I was really excited that it finally arrived so I could wear it on the show.
Yay! Yeah, I'm still waiting for a ton of BlizzCon stuff. Actually, I ordered a bunch of stuff because you ordered. We were sitting in the actual BlizzCon convention hall when you ordered a whole ton of things off of the shop, right?
Yeah, so there were two things. So the line was so bizarre that during the opening ceremony, I just went, I'm just ordering this on my phone as the opening ceremony is going on.
That's right.
It was good because then some stuff did sell out. And then I went on to the line, so, oh yeah, you can see it. I have the new Murloc and the cup in the background.
Hooray!
So I had two line ordeals, and it came in right before Thanksgiving, the robe and some of the other stuff I ordered from the store.
Yeah, it seems to be a bit of a backlog on the ordering, because I ordered some of the Overwatch shirts, and I ordered some t-shirts, the posters of, the Frostwolf pup! It's so cute!
So I have lots of merch from
that is awesome.
They've been doing awesome things recently.
They really have, yeah, it's been amazing. But yeah, I ordered a bunch of stuff, and it still hasn't come in, so I'm heading back to the UK on the 20th, so I'm hoping that comes in before I leave for England, because I'm going to be so sad if it doesn't, because it means I won't get it until sometime next year. So yeah, let's get on with the show. We're kind of starting to settle into the expansion now. I feel like people are sort of starting to get grounded in and playing it a bit more and finding out lots of stuff that they want to talk about. So we've obviously had the Reddit, AMA this week.
Yeah. It was really useful. I was surprised how much new information and clarifications they gave. I thought it was going to be sort of more highlighting things for players that had missed some facts while leveling up, but there were some, cool new things. Yeah,
definitely. I completely agree. It was surprising. Like, oftentimes with these AMAs, they're not super, like, they'll often end up bogged down. And this did happen a little bit. Like, they ended up in some places a little bit bogged down in one group of people's sort of class-specific questions. Like, there was a little bit of sort of bickering back and forth.
It was
really good,
I thought.
Yeah, definitely. So we had a ton of information in there. And obviously the raid and the PvP season began. So, Perk, have you managed to get in much raiding? I know that you got a cloak.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 100.
Yeah.
And I've just been, because raid coverage is really new on Wowhead, and we wanted to expand it and do a ton more stuff for this tier than in the past. I've sort of been monitoring everything and making sure all the formatting on the guides and the data is really good. So I've been sort of rating the database.
Yeah.
But hopefully next week, working on my item level and making sure all the existing guides we have are really awesome. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I managed to do. We've got a 1 night a week group at the minute. There's sort of between 20 and 25 of us. I'm tanking. I'm so happy to be back tanking again. It feels good. PvE tank was my main in BC. I didn't play in Classic. PvE Paladin tank was my main in Burning Crusade, in Wrath, and in Cataclysm, but I changed to a healer in Mists of Pandaria for PvE, and I regretted it so hard by the end of the expansion, so I'm happy to be tanking.
Yeah, that's
really
awesome.
Good.
Things are now more fun again.
Yeah, really good for tanks, because it was terrible. Like, tanking at the end of Dragon Soul was just so bad. Yeah. But anyway, we've definitely got a ton of bugs still coming up, but one of the big things we obviously wanted to talk about, the sheer quantity of content that we've got launching. So my cat is like eating a bag in the background, so that's what that crackling noise is, if you can hear it. So Highmaul, Normal, and Heroic open this week. Normal is dropping 655, and Heroic is dropping 670, and obviously you've got the Warforged, Socket, Speed stuff in there as well. One thing that I think people are finding a kind of confusing still, I don't know if you've seen this as well in Heroics or in other PvE content perk, but people still seem a little bit confused about the loot side of things. Like,
yeah, I think it's because there's been a lot of changes going on that you can read about, but actually in game it's pretty easy. Like, you know, you looted this set token. If you are, a feral or a guardian druid, it has agi. If you switch to becoming a healer, it has intellect and the set bonus changes. It's super easy. You don't have to collect gear from a billion sources or have 3 completely full sets of gear in your bags at one point. Even with heroics, it's like, oh my god, this boss is such a huge loot table. But it's like, well, but you just grab an item. Like, there's 5 different items that pretty much give you the exact same thing, and multiple bosses drop the items. So you're just sort of meant to go along with the flow and grab what you have, and it will change to be good for your spec. I think a lot of people aren't realizing that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of people, we had some confusion in my raid because we had off of Tectus an item dropped. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was just another item, and it had like the grayed out stat on it. And I'm obviously they're aware of what that means. So it's got intellect on it if you're not me, and it's got strength on it if you are me. Looking at it on a protection paladin, and there was a huge sort of we're doing it with Master Looter, so people are slash rolling on things, and there was this big discussion with someone who just couldn't wrap their head around the idea that this was going to change if they put it on or if I put it on. It was just like, this is silly.
I mean, the only thing that doesn't change with the primary stats is I think some of the things like trinkets. It's like, okay, this is the healer trinket. The accessories are meant to have slightly more variation as well as weapons, but your basic 8 armor slots are meant to change their primary stats, so agi, int, and strength based on what spec you are.
Exactly. And I mean, there's also, there's not much confusion about this as well, but things like the spirit and bonus armor items that are dropping as well, those really are just for tanks and healers. Like, we had some confusion again in the same raid on Wednesday, where someone thought that bonus armor would go away and be replaced with something else if they weren't a tank. Doesn't work like that, guys. Those secondary stats are fixed. So, I mean, there has sort of been some discussion about even if you are able to, say as a shaman, you're able to have the same set for enhanced and elemental because the stats switch, it's highly possible that you might actually want completely different stats for enhanced and for elemental, so you'd still have to collect 2 sets of armor to be optimal. Yeah,
but I mean, for all to just starting off, it helps you sort of get over that basic gear hurdle of oh my god, I have nothing for my spec.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's really and it's really just nice to change. Like, I might try if I level my shaman, I'm too sad about them to do it at the minute, but I might try enhancement for the first time in my WoW career of having played a shaman since somewhere in the Burning Crusade, and that's pretty great because it just gives you that freedom to do it. So we have got so much stuff. Perk, do you want to just run us through the guide content that we've got on Wowhead for Highmaul? Because it's a bit of a mouthful.
All right. So we currently have a giveaway going on where you link us your favorite dungeon or raid guide on Wowhead that's tied to Warlords, and you can be entered into a magic rooster mount. It's a really cool TCG mount. It usually goes for like $250 on eBay. And if you wanted hey, what are these guides I'm going to be looking at if you haven't used them yet, we have an amazing series of dungeon guides and Highmaul guides to all of the bosses, and they even include things like trash that's particularly evil before the boss, because that can be sometimes the most painful part of LFR, or, the trash feels like it's its own boss. So we have all those details. We've got loot summaries if you're trying to make sense of the huge dungeon loot tables. For Highmaul, if you're like, hey, I'm a caster, what do I want to spend my bonus roll on? We have an easy, we have an easy list at the top. If there's an achievement tied to the boss, we've got screenshots of all the evil-looking fire abilities. We've got spec-specific tips to, tanks, DPS, and healers. So we've got all these things, and we have a really amazing guide writer, Dayani. She's been on Wowhead Weekly for the pre-patch because she wrote our healing guides, and she's also written all the dungeon and Highmaul guides. She extensively tested everything on the beta. She's a really great raider in general.
Yeah.
And she's also, checking the guides daily to see if any hot fixes have changed her strategies or if people have questions in the comments. She's been answering them. So we are super excited that in addition to bringing you all of the data, all the spells, all the loot tied to a boss, the dungeon journal, we can have these guides to help you with the questions you have most.
Exactly.
And also we have a few other sort of overview guides in case you want to learn other things. So we've got this huge overview guide to Highmaul of like what all the tier 17 gear looks like, what you can open on what day, like when is LFR, what is the item level I need. We've got a guide to how you can get the bonus rolls for tier 17 loot, and if you're like, hey, I didn't play WoW, Miss Pandaria, what is a bonus roll? We explain what that
We've got all of that in there too.
Yeah, and we've got a few other things, like if you're like, how do I get my item level to 615?
Great guide on that.
We've got a summary of that. If you're like, hey, I want to do a world boss, we've got another guide writer, Sarah, who's written a guide to where they are, all the abilities, what they drop. So we have a really well-rounded section, and we're always looking for more suggestions. So if you have any, let us know, and it will more likely than not be up on the site.
Yes. I mean, a lot of the time it's just a case of, because there's so much content on Wowhead, people can't actually find all of the stuff that we've done, which is, we understand that. We're completely understanding of that. That's kind of like why we built the Garrison's hub. And as LFR opens, we may well put a more centralized location in place for all of the Highmaul information, which we're getting in place. And that does open on Tuesday along with Mythic. The item level, as I can see being talked about in chat, is 615 to get into LFR. So if you're looking for that item level, Perk put together a fantastic guide to getting it. It's pretty straightforward.
And Olivia has this awesome PvP guide, because PvP is really easy if you don't really PvP. If you're always scared, you can get really good level 600 and 620 gear.
Yes, absolutely.
Doing battlegrounds, even if you lose. So
yeah, for sure. And it also has a chance to be Warforged, which is 66. So Warforged Aspirants, which is the 600 gear, can be Warforged up to 606. And the Honor gear, which is the Competence gear, can be Warforged up to 626. I posted this earlier, and I had a few people coming back, so I just want to clarify. PvP gear is actually totally fine for PvE right now. It may not have your optimal, very best stats on it, but that's the case with PvE gear as well. So there's nothing, like if you remember back in Cataclysm, people were using the higher item level PvP gear to get into PvE dungeons, and in Cataclysm you had spell penetration and resilience on your PvP gear, which took away stats. So for example, for sake of argument, let's say you had an intellect piece which had intellect and stamina, and if it's a PvP piece, it would have had intellect, stamina, resilience and spell pen, just for example, and that would have meant that it had no secondary stats on it for PvE at all, or normally it actually had one, but whatever, whereas the PvE gear would have all of the secondary stats as useful ones for PvE. Now PvP gear only has the same stat budget as PvE gear. So if you've got an item level 620 piece, hypothetically, because you can't actually get 620 PvE gear, and it has 100 of everything, strength, stamina, crit and mastery, the 620 PvP piece will have exactly the same stats and exactly the same numbers on it. So all of the people who are going, oh no, you can't use PvP gear in PvE, oh, heretics, ban them, it's not the case anymore, guys. It's absolutely fine, and it may not have your optimal stats on it for sure, and obviously the item levels are slightly offset, but it's still just fine. So if you're looking for that 615 item level, PvP gear is a really easy way to get it. Like, I wouldn't gear in 100% PvP gear, particularly if you're a tank, but it's a really nice way to supplement the gear that you're getting. Like, for example, and I'm sure you've had this as well, Perk, like I had one green piece forever.
Yeah, you just want to get rid of that.
Exactly. I just could not get rid of these boots on my tank. And I was just like, okay, you know what? This isn't going to be the very most perfect piece, but it's a piece. It's a piece of gear that's better. So I put those boots on, bought them with honor, and I was good to go, and it was no problems at all. So don't worry about using PvP gear in PvE, and if people say that it's bad, just yell at them. Or send them to me online and I'll yell at them for you. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But yeah, and like, for example, Solid Snake 3133 in chat says that his tank is using the PvP strength shield at the moment. It's a great shield.
Yeah, it's totally fine, because you can kill a rare spawn that has a 620 piece, but rare spawns, they aren't up every single day, and you may not see the loot from them. So, it's definitely better than your quest reward.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like I think I had, because you had obviously in Perks amazing exploration guides that lists out all of the drops that you can get from world spawns. So I had a shield from that, which was, I think it was 608. I want to say it was 608. I'm not 100% sure on that item level. But yeah, I just went like the tank. Okay, pro tip, guys, if you're playing a tank, the PvP tank shield is currently at a bugged price. It's meant to be 1250. It's currently 1,000. So literally go log in, right, like just go buy it quickly before they fix it. So there you go. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's a really nice way to just supplement your existing gear. We have got a ton of other content come from Tuesday. We had Warlords Season 1 began, so we put up the PvP gearing guide today because well, it took me a little while to write. I wanted to check some things as well. It's just we want to be thorough and accurate. We also had Drov and Talna appearing Gorgron, dropping level 650 gear. Perk already mentioned the amazing guide that
we should
Diani
clarify
wrote.
that only one is up per week, so you can't farm both. There's only, it's like Drov is up, then Tarla's not up, and they share some loot, but not all. So, just check their loot tables before you're like, oh man, why isn't this world boss dropping my chest? Because it could be on the other one.
Exactly. So it's been Talna for this week. So on Tuesday, it's going to switch over to Drov. They do, as Perk says, have different loot tables. It's very nice. They're a funny, different kind of world spawn because they spawn like so constantly. I had this weird issue with Talna because I literally logged on and went straight to kill her. Like I logged on and it was my guild immediately invited me to a group and we ran off to Gorgrond to kill her. And I couldn't pick up the loot. Like it just wasn't working for some reason.
Everything was so laggy on Tuesday.
Yeah, it really was. It's just saying that object is busy forever and ever. So I just sat there and sort of AFK'd, alt-tab, did some work, tabbed back in, tried again, alt-tab, did some work, and rinse, repeat. And by the time I eventually got the piece of gear to work for me, 45 minutes later, there had been 3 other kills of Talna in the same spot.
Wow.
So it goes super quickly. It's really, really easy. So it's not a case of you're going to have, with oh my god, Galleon in Mr. Pandaria, you kind of had to wait for him to spawn, didn't you? You sort of...
Yeah, it took a while, and then everyone had to rush over to him.
Yeah, you had to try and punch him before he died, and it was really annoying. So if you just miss a spawn of Talna, or indeed Drov next week from Tuesday onwards for the US, Wednesday for the EU, you won't have to worry. Just sit around for 10 minutes, it'll be back up again in an instant. So we had a ton of good guides there. We've also had guides for the Seal of Tempered Fate. We've actually, if you go to the currency page, we've got a ton of information there on all of the things you can do with them, the ways you can get them, how to spend them. And I think they've actually literally hotfixed 30 minutes before we started the show to change the location of the vendors for the Seals of Tempered Fate.
Yeah, was off in this little island in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they moved him, I guess, to be more central, which I think is good.
Definitely. The amount of people in my guild on the Wednesday raid who didn't have their seals, they collected up all the stuff. So obviously they go onto Wowhead, they can see how many resources or gold or honor they need to have to turn the quest in. They didn't have the items just because they didn't know where the vendor was. I mean, it's so far off.
We can check things like real-time analytics, and all of a sudden I'm like, why is this vendor suddenly really high up on pages?
It was super hard to find. Exactly. So we've also got the Apexis vendors are now the Apexis vendors are now selling the 655 gear. Is that the flawless? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think it's exceptional or flawless.
I think it's exceptional then flawless.
Right.
Okay, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, so that's the thing where you have to have the base level gear and then an additional payment, right? Kind of like the heirlooms.
So for the 655 gear, essentially you need to have the 630 base item, and then you upgrade that. You take the 630 item and some crystals, get the 645 item, then you take the 645 item and even more crystals to get the final version.
It's definitely a ton of crystals. It's a ton of crystals. I see that actually, I just got to answer this question really quickly. Any tips for getting into Ashran? Because I keep seeing it. I want to answer it now before I forget. Any tips getting into Ashran for PvP? As I've been queuing for 2 days and not got in. Do I keep having to fly to Ashran? Unfortunately, yeah, you do. There are some pretty big problems with Ashran at the moment. It's kind of... they're having some problems with the CRZ basically. So at first they had the CRZ too soft, so it wasn't pulling in enough, and one faction was imbalanced over the other. And they've actually fixed that CRZ, but they've gone too far the other way now, and it's kind of got a little bit crazy. Like, I'm going in there every day to farm my broken bones and just to work towards my manslayer achievement, and to obviously just get honor and do the conquest objectives. But it's so laggy. It's so tiresome. Like, it's kind of like jolting for me. And I've seen a lot of other people having the same problem where you're sort of run. And it's just sort of jolting around, and it's really annoying. But Ashran is kind of a mess right now. And I know internally that they're working on it to get it sorted out.
Yeah, they mentioned that at the AMA as well, how they know that there's issues that they have to work on, and there's some like really urgent things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that they're also, looking at ways that they can improve it going forwards as well. Yeah. So they did cover that, as Perk said, in the AMA, which is the other big thing that we have to talk about this week. Yeah. Hooray, segues! So we had the Reddit AMA yesterday afternoon, 4 p.m. Pacific. Perk live blogged, did an amazing job of live blogging the highlights as they came. I think the guys on Reddit were working really hard to moderate, so we thought, right, we'll put this together on Wowhead and get it all in one place. Yeah. So big news items. We're not going to go through every single thing that Perk live blogged, but if you want to look at that, I'm going to have a link to the post in the Wowhead post that holds the YouTube version of the show. So it's on the front page of Wowhead right now. You can go and check it out. It's all there. All the good information is right there in immense detail with links to the original post. It's fantastic. Amazing. So we're just going to hit some of the really big points in the show today. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about was that, hooray, heirloom system, yay, it's coming in 6.1. So
yeah, I mean, we knew that it was coming in a future patch, but we didn't know when. But yeah, I mean, 6.1 makes sense, although I'm not sure when we're getting 6.1 if we still have Blackrock Foundry.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I don't know how that's gonna go, but hopefully soon with the alien system. Sadder news though for the Diablo Star Transmog system and the class accessories. That's sadder news because those are being pushed back to, and they're kind of saying a future expansion, which is Blizzard for we're not sure yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the class accessories when we first saw that Artcraft. It wasn't for Warlords, and I think we're a little confused because we're like, why are we getting an Artcraft for something that's not coming in this expansion? But the Transmog, I did think that at some points they were trying to push towards, it could be in a Warlords patch. It could be, mid expansion. So that's a little sad that now it's definitely next expansion.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a shame, but I think we've got some cool stuff that's coming in at this expansion that sort of makes up for it. And the big piece of news, which actually I was pretty surprised about this. I don't know if you've
like every week we're like, oh, here's our big flying idea for 6.1, and totally wrong.
Totally wrong. No, we were 100% wrong there. So flying is not coming in 6.1, and I'm going to read you the quote which Perk took over from the thing. So they say, as the focus of our end game outdoor content remains in the main Draenor zones, our reasons for disallowing flight in 6.0 continue to apply in 6.1. Whether you're navigating your way to Orumi the Observer in Shatrath Rise, trying to reach a treasure, actually I should say that properly, Shatrath, because I can see Taran Gregory is in chat and he will tell me off.
Hey,
Shatrath Rise, hey Taran. Trying to reach a treasure cache atop a column and spires, or working your way around the ledges enclosing the pit, circling the pit, you're engaging in gameplay that simply would not exist in a world with unfettered flight. So again, we were wrong. I mean, have you missed flying yet, Perk? Have you felt the absence of it?
I mean, well, so most of the time I'm in my Garrison. So it's like, let's be honest, most of us were just like clicking our herbs or boxes.
Yeah.
Or at the mission table. But I mean, it's a little bit weird for me because I've been playing since the first day of the alpha was available. But I haven't really missed it yet. I think maybe I've just gotten used to it 6 months later at this point, that stuff will take a little bit longer to get around in. I do know that the flight paths, they were really painful at the start of early alpha because they were just going in all sorts of bad directions, and now they are a bit better. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, I do feel though that I'm curious about the focus on outdoor content because I like treasures, but like I go and I loot the treasures, and then I don't need to go back to that part of the zone to explore anymore. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah,
So
definitely. It's a bit, or maybe there's more, I mean, maybe this is a sort of precursor to more of that kind of content coming, but I certainly feel like it's kind of like the Timeless Isle chests, where once you've done them once, you've done them, and once you've done
right.
these jumping puzzles, and obviously you've got alts, but once you've done these jumping puzzles, once you've done them, and yeah, I mean maybe there's more to come, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all with them talking about this focus. But I agree. I mean, personally, for me with flying, the only time I've missed it so far has been when I was fishing in the world in the Grand, because I didn't have the right bait. So if you haven't been doing
Yeah, I
much
think
fishing,
I mean, yeah. So Negrand
sorry.
has these really cool like glider puzzles where you fly
Yeah.
from hill to hill. But at some points, I'm like, man, I just fell off the world into a really terrible place, and I wish I could just fly and not
Yeah, and that's
fall
it.
there.
Like, exactly. Like, I've been using my Hearthstones. Like, I'm so happy to have the two Hearthstones because I've got the obviously the normal Hearthstone and then the Garrison Hearthstone. So when I inevitably fall off something and I'm like, well, I guess I'm stuck now, I can Hearthstone back and go to a flight point. But it is annoying. And I think particularly in the Grand, I found it annoying. Like, I see someone in chat, I just glanced at chat a second ago and saw someone talking about flying in the Grand being a pain. And there is the Aviana's Feather item that you can get.
Yeah.
But
Oh, also to the person, is there a guide how to reach the goblin locations and the jumping puzzles? We have a series of exploration guides that we've stuck on every zone page and every treasure page, and we do cover that. Like with Spires, I have like a screenshot of the jumping area and a bunch of arrows showing you like how you have to go. And for No Grand, I do lay out the treasures that I'm aware of, like the steam wheel supplies, and I'm like, talk to this NPC and then go south. And I have a map showing the location of the gliders and then like where you have to go. So that's a pretty good start. And of course, users have left tons of comments underneath those guides. But yeah, like head to something like Spires of Iraq zone page, and then you'll see a guide at the bottom being like, hey, this is the exploration guide.
Yeah.
And just click on that and you'll see all of that. And we've done that for every single zone.
Yeah,
so
that's
if
super
anything cool
handy.
with the zone, it's going to have its own little shout out section.
yeah, and if you're just confused, like there's a bunch of add-ons that people are using to help find those. But if you're confused about exactly how to get to them, these guys are fantastic. Can't recommend them highly enough. But yeah, like for me, as far as the flying goes, I don't honestly mind not having it. There's a lot of flight paths that are pretty good. You've got lots of Hearthstones. You've got lots of ways to travel around without flying. But I do find myself missing it more when I'm like going to insert name of place here to do quest objectives or to do flying or to do
I feel
another
like
thing.
the Apexis dailies is something where it's like, I just want to get to this
Yeah.
area and go do my thing and head back.
Definitely, yeah, that's a very fine example. Like the one in Shattrath City is just like you have to go north and like you have to go to that flight point for Horde at least, and then you have like a decently long run through really heavily mob populated zones that don't contribute to the Apexis daily to actually get to the point where it does work.
I think that's the biggest concern. It's like, oh, I'm in Shadow Moon, I need to get to Frostfire. Like, I'm in Frostfire, I need to get to Shadow Moon.
Yeah.
This is annoying. I don't want to do this. I'll do the daily that gives me less crystals instead, or I just won't do the daily.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really tiresome. Oh, and I just saw Nuthead Jack is leaving from chat, and he's been asking whether you can queue for Ashran. This is completely off topic, but I just wanted to answer it before he left. You cannot queue to Ashran without walking across that bridge. It's really annoying, and I wish they'd make a way to do it. There we go. That was that question. But yeah, as far as flying goes, I don't think that it's necessarily the worst thing. That people's reactions before the expansion was launched and playable by everyone were really, really very much that, oh no, we want flying, I'm not going to be even, oh, I hate you, Blizzard, this is the literal worst thing in the world. And I think now people are more, like there's more balance in those opinions. There are more people who are actually like, oh yeah, I don't actually mind not having flying. It doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, I mean, as we did with the BlizzCon interviews, when they were talking about how they sort of made some tweaks to the outdoor zones to, because no one was actually going to be flying there, like that helped. I mean, sure, maybe if you dumped players in Northrend and were like, you cannot fly here, there would be a problem. But because they were talking about how they tried to make the flight paths better, they tried to make sure that as you're questing, you don't need to do like every single quest in the zone to move on to the next thing, that like the mob placement and the herb placement made sense if you weren't flying. I think that that's why it hasn't felt as painful for some people. Like, I know some people still don't like flying, but
oh god, no, totally. And I think that the people who are making the point of like the mounts, like the flying mounts using as ground mounts, like the drakes look super derpy, and
they do look bad.
That is definitely a very fair concern. And like I I look forward to being able to fly again. I don't mind it not being right now.
Yeah, that was pretty. It's pretty funny how the Grinning Reaver mount was like, "Hey, look at this
Oh my god,
beautiful
yeah.
mount with
Buy this flying mount. Good luck using it, Draenor. And there was something like one
spires of
oh man, yeah, like one thing that came up
bones.
one thing that came up over BlizzCon was the option, I saw it being tweeted about, I don't remember by who, but the option to, like, whether they could build a way for someone to select a different mount for the flight path. So say, for example, if I'm tired of riding the Wind Rider, I would be able to say, oh, I want to use Ashes of Alar as a flight path mount. That would be super cool. That would be a really nice solution for people who are just tired of not seeing their flying mounts fly. But yeah, a bunch of other stuff in the AMA. We spent too long on flying as ever. They also talked about mob pathing changes. So basically, this is an interesting one, particularly if, like me right now, you are tanking. So they made some changes to server responsiveness, which is the speed at which information travels backwards and forwards between your computer screen and the World of Warcraft servers. And those have resulted in some interesting, and I say interesting in that sort of interesting kind of way, changes to how mobs respond to tanking movement. So, like, for example, in Mr. Pandaria, if you wanted to spin a mob around, you could just strafe or go through them. And now they do completely unpredictable things, which could really are freaking tanks out. And not everyone is struggling a ton. And I know that, like, as someone who's playing a rogue that has to attack things from behind.
Yeah, you have to sort of be in the back, or like, how do you avoid the cleave? And it's like, oh, look, this just cleaved in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it's just like, I mean, it's the server responsiveness changes are great. They make the game go faster. They make it more viable to do PvP and much more viable to interrupt things, for example. But for tanks, they're kind of having a hard time right now. As someone who is tanking, particularly bad bosses. Oh my god, Kargath, Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, last boss, I think it's Kargath. No, it's not Kargath. It wouldn't be Kargath.
Yeah, on our contest guide, everyone was like, oh my god, like, as a tank, I need this Burial Grounds guide to help me survive.
Oh my god, yeah. And it's just like the way that he does, he's the one that has the line of guys, kind of like, is it Sylvanas in the Arab Twilight dungeons, where she had the ring that closed in on you of the little skeletons?
Yeah, and there's only one way to get out.
Exactly, so you have to kill one and make a little gap and then go through that gap. So exactly, Ner'zhul, thank you very much, Terran. Not Kargath, I've got Kargath on the brain. But yeah, Ner'zhul, and he has this ground smash that he does, and so the tank has to face him away, because otherwise the ground smash smashes the only viable exit from the line of guys. And oh my god, it's so annoying. And he'll just like, you'll do this. And he'll be like, oh, I'm going to go behind you. All right? And it's just like, oh my god, no, stop it, Ner'zhul. But yeah, so that's really tiresome. They've got it on their radar, which I think is very, very comforting for people who are tanking. It's just like...
Yeah, I mean, they obviously want people to be in these raids.
Yeah.
With all these like flex scaling changes, they want more people to be doing it and not be scared. And I don't think they want the first experience to be the main tank being really upset.
No, exactly.
Dying.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where you can see people just being like, particularly in 5-man dungeons, where you're so much the focus, being people like OMG, noob tank, etc., etc. So you don't want people to have a negative experience like that either. Another interesting bit of dungeons was the idea of the 6-player dungeons.
Yeah, that was really like, wow. I mean, they've never changed the size of dungeons before.
Yeah. So what was it like? So you're obviously playing, like, I'm playing a tank. The dungeon queues don't affect me at all. But as someone who's playing a DPS, what's your take on this? What do you think about the idea of it?
I think it's pretty interesting. I'm just curious. So basically the idea is that because they realize that dungeon queues are super long for DPS, and maybe a solution to having the queues be shorter is letting more DPS into a dungeon at once. And it's interesting. I mean, I'm curious how they would tune a boss for things. You know, if you have a certain number of ads, you know, obviously 4 people would be better than 3. Like, do you have challenge modes, geared to 5 players versus 6? It can really change the composition on something if you're doing challenging content, having another DPS tag along. But I like the idea of shorter queues, and they also were doing some recent call to arms changes, and that was another thing where I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool, but I'll never get a satchel. I wish there was a way for me to get a satchel.
I definitely sympathize with that. I mean, I think like the sort of response to it is always that, and I agree with this response as well, much as I'm sympathetic to DPS being like, oh, but I want a satchel, is that the whole point of those satchels is to make the queue shorter for DPS because they incentivize tanks and healers to queue. So if I'm tanking, if I'm just like messing around in my Garrison, I was like, la la la, oh, maybe I'll do a heroic, and I pull up that window and I see that satchel there, I'm like, okay, I'm definitely doing a heroic, because I got a mount out of one of those in the castle one time, and it was just like, oh my god, I got a White Hawk Strider mount from a satchel. So I will definitely do one, and that just means that people who aren't really in need of any gear from heroics are incentivized to do them anyway, and those are the people that you want in heroics in order to give a good experience for the people who are waiting. On the other hand, I definitely feel like it's like, I understand why DPS gets sad about it. Like, I've actually got a satchel as DPS, level 65-ish on my hunter. I actually got a DPS satchel. It's just a thing about supply and demand, and the demand for tanks and healers is so high, much higher than the supply, that they need to make more tanks and healers go into the queues in order to balance out the DPS. And I think particularly with the removal of the 3-player scenarios, DPS are feeling the pinch on the queue times even more than they were in the late Mr. Pandaria. But
it's also probably good to mention that there's no current plans for scenarios in Warlords, like the mop style scenarios. So they might use the tech for things like, hey, you're in a single player, challenge and you have to fight this boss, but they're not going to have any more 3-player scenarios for the foreseeable future. So it just, they're just going to put their focus into making the dungeons be a really good experience. Or
Personally, I'm really happy about that, but I play tanks and healers mostly. Like, do you miss the 3-player scenarios, Perk?
I don't. I mean, I always think that there should be more dungeons. I like when there are dungeons in the middle of an expansion. Yeah. So, it's like a new challenge, it's a new like fun thing. There's new gear, like there's new achievements. So I always like them. I like seeing the new artwork. I think they help sort of flesh the story out and move things along to supplement what you learned about the new lore, evil boss. Sort of like the dungeon was like, the thing leading up to it. So I would, I think if they have to put their resources somewhere, I'd rather see more dungeons than these scenarios.
Yeah, I personally agree with that too. And speaking of the lore and bosses and interesting stuff like that, we actually had a really interesting thing for people who are into the lore side of stuff. It's not, I don't know if we can really call this a spoiler. Like, people mostly knew about the final boss in Warlords of Draenor being announced at last BlizzCon, or at BlizzCon, sorry, but was it last BlizzCon? Yeah, it was last BlizzCon. Was it this BlizzCon? I'm just so confused now because it's been 2 BlizzCons of Warlords of Draenor. But anyway, at BlizzCon recently, not in the past 2 years.
It was the BlizzCon before last, and then it was brought up again in an interview.
There we go.
After the date for Warlords coming out was announced.
There we go. Got it. Right. So he actually said, Tom Chilton actually said in the Reddit AMA that there would be a surprise with the final boss. So, okay, a surprise doesn't mean it's not Grom. A surprise. Hang on, I'm actually scrolling through this to pick up the exact thing that they said. Where is it? I've lost. Oh, here we go. Last in what? So the actual phrasing of the question was, and I'm reading, so excuse me. There seems to be a lot of people that have an issue with Garrosh's father being the last boss in Warlords of Draenor. Is he definitely the last boss? Or may there be a surprise for people? Great job, by the way, enjoying the expansion so far. And Tom Chilton responds saying, there will be a surprise. And we're looking forward to players hearing more about it sometime soon. So because of the, while I wouldn't like to say that we think it's not going to be Grom, because of the phrasing of the question, like he says, is he the last boss? Or may there be a surprise? To which Tom replies, there may be a surprise. So
yeah, I mean, it seemed very weird they would just tell us everything so far before Warlords came out.
Yeah, I agree.
So there has to be a twist somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm kind of hopeful that it's not actually going to be like straight up another member of the Hellscream family.
Another orc.
Yeah, we spoke to Alex Efrosiabi about the orc situation at BlizzCon, so no more orcs. Maybe this is them addressing the orc situation since Tom made that original announcement, so to speak. But yeah, so that was a really interesting bit of the AMA. We've also got a bunch of information on garrisons that we thought was worth talking about. So they actually said that they are going to try and find some ways to make garrisons easier on alts through the patch cycle. Now, I absolutely welcome this. Like, I think this is a great thing.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Yeah, definitely. And so I kind of was wondering, what did, like, Perk is great at coming up with good ideas for this stuff. So what do you think that they could do to make garrisons easier for alts? What are some of your ideas?
Okay, so I think that if you already have if your main has a garrison that's unlocked certain levels or achievements tied to the garrison, your alts could maybe have reduced building costs or reduced construction costs. Or just more work orders available, because if you're on an alt, you're not going to be logging onto it all the time. I feel like, so some of the blockers for garrisons, I feel like, are resources, because you're like, oh my god, I built this building and now it's the wrong building, and like, now I can't upgrade this to level 3, what do I do? Or, oh my god, my cache is now full because I forgot to log on.
Yeah.
So I feel that maybe some changes to garrison resources could be the most helpful. I know the level 3 costs are a major sort of hurdle for people, and just sort of pinpointing the areas that people, how often do people play their alts, and sort of making it so you don't need to log on as much, but when you do, you're still given a bunch of cool stuff. And I like the reduced cost idea, especially for level 3.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like, for me, like, with my personal, and obviously everyone's personal experience is going to dictate this differently. Like, I went straight in with the trading post on all of my garrisons as soon as I could get a medium building. So I've not been super starved for resources, but in my personal, I'm sorry about the ping there, by the way, my phone, I thought it was muted, but evidently it was not. So my garrisons are not short on resources, but because my account is a new account in the NA region, so I obviously, as you can hear, I'm not from the States, I'm European from England. So I started off with an EU account, which is very wealthy because I had it through the end of Cataclysm and basically spent my time playing the auction house. So my US account is really poor in gold. I'm so rich in garrison resources and so poor in gold. And yes, you can trade them, but to me that 5,000 gold upgrade cost for the level 3 is such a sting. Like, I have a mage at level 98 now, I think, and I'm just not, like, I'm not going to be upgrading her garrison to level 3, much as I'd really like to, because I just don't have the gold to do it. And yeah, like, I'm making gold with her enchanting by selling temporal crystals and all of that sort of stuff, and like, I'm doing my best to make gold, but I think that that level 3 upgrade cost is a huge deal. I also think that, again, as someone who's gold poor, if you bought, it would be really nice if you bought a blueprint on your main or on one of your characters, if that blueprint that you purchased, not the ones that you buy with the outpost construction guides, the ones that you buy with gold, that would be then available across all your accounts. So the level 2 blueprints, for example, which are such a gold sink, I would love to be able to share those across my characters so much, just because I'm really, really poor.
Another thing that chat is talking about are followers and missions. The follower grind might be fun at first, but if you're trying to juggle all of these alts, and it's like, when does my mission end on this character, and oh, oops, I forgot to log on to my alt and now their missions are bad, or do I have to really quest out in the world to get the one follower that's really good? So maybe there could be, garrisons are not going to be account-wide, and I don't think they should be, but if there's some way to make the whole follower mission grind easier on alts, or more forgiving, that would be good, I think. Like, maybe you don't need 1 billion XP to get them from uncommon to epic.
Yeah.
You're not going to have like that much patience to be like, okay, on my alt, my 3rd alt, I got this terrible follower that didn't proc epic, and I have to level it all the way up and then get it the gear again.
Oh my god, yeah.
You want your alts, it's like, hey, your alt, you don't want to spend as much time on, and you want easy ways to get them some decent gear, so approach your followers in the same way.
Definitely, and I think actually, not sure how to say this name, but Lishhawk in Twitch chat says maybe they should do a similar thing to the rep boost items for alts, so that and I think that's a great idea, like once you get X number of followers to level 100 or whatever, you get an item or like just a boost on your alts, like when you cap out Valor for the week in
like
Mist of Pandaria.
For your alts, or like I don't know, like a some sort of item where you can just give them an XP boost. That would be cool.
Or you could award it
BOA reward.
Or you could award it from missions.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, and it surprised me actually that the things like the XP pots that you can buy for garrison resources were BOP, not BOA.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was really odd, because I bought one on my Paladin thinking that I could send it to my mage and that she would then have a faster time leveling, and then they weren't. And I was just like, okay, so here I am on a level 100 character with this useless XP pot sitting in my bag that I can do absolutely nothing with.
I just feel missions are kind of very, like, you need to actually read a lot about followers and missions before you're like, oh, I re-rolled this trait that I didn't want to re-roll, or oh, you know, how long does this mission stay before it goes away, or why, hey, I assigned my random follower to this mission, why isn't getting the XP I want? So I feel that just making the whole process easier for alts, whether it's getting the XP boost to have the followers get higher levels, so it's not as like punishing or making the missions stay around longer. So if you choose the wrong one, your alt doesn't feel bad.
Definitely.
I think there's stuff to be done there.
Yeah, and like things like don't make us build barracks. The barracks isn't like, I mean, sure, if you're going, like if you're going down the followers route, the barracks is a great building. Like if you really want to get your followers maxed out, and you're going to go with a war mill, then awesome. But the barracks, like, it isn't even that useful. Like if I had to rank the large buildings, I wouldn't put barracks anywhere at the top.
The large buildings are kind of funny because I know people don't like the Gearworks either, because they're like, I spent 100 resources to build this tank. Yeah. And it's like the Nagram tank.
Yeah,
and now
definitely.
we have this tank.
It was a bit odd, for sure. And like, I just don't think that honestly, and this is completely off topic from the show notes that we put together earlier, but I just don't think that the large buildings are very good compared to the mediums. Like the mediums are great.
The stables at level 1, and then apparently the stables run mount perk doesn't stack with the guild one. So you're like,
it's weird.
Why am I not going as fast as I thought I was going?
Exactly, it's just a bit strange. And like the other, like if I could put medium buildings on large plots, I'd be all over that.
The inn has all like the toys and the dungeons, and the Gladiator Sanctum has all the titles, and the trading post is the transmog. I think the Dwarven Bunker is really good, but the other ones I'm sort of...
Yeah, I agree. And like I actually ended up taking the stables as my large, just because I was like, okay, well, I guess this mounted while interacting perk is handy, I guess. They felt really But yeah, I mean, if you're doing the followers game, and there's a couple of people in chat saying 25 followers is awesome. If you're doing the follower thing and you're like focused on those, then I completely agree. But I just think that you could have a choice there for that first large building, and that would be superior. But anyway, we have to move on with the shows. We're going so long. Oh my God. And so actually, speaking of buildings, the level 3 salvage yard was one of the things that they cleared up, just to say that actually that is better than the level 2 one. So from what I understand, at least, there was something where people were concerned that because, so say when you're at level 2, you can get items A, B, C, D, and E. And then at level 3, you can get items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. So people were saying, oh, well, if you want to get item A, you're drawing from a bigger pool at the level 3 salvage yard, so it's actually worse for getting item A. What it's actually doing is it's pulling... so chance of getting a follower item...
There's like 2 separate loot tables.
Yeah, exactly. So you have, with level 3, you still get the level 2 one, and then you get another loot table for level 3. So
for like even more special items.
Yeah, exactly. So you're basically doing 2 rolls against different loot tables.
I confirmed that too. I got my level 3 salvage yard, and I'm like, oh, like I'm seeing like twice as many items now from the top, and I'm definitely getting a lot of upgrades from them.
Definitely, and I think I'm glad that they cleared that up. And they also cleared up the working war orders achievement, where it wasn't taking the work orders weren't being counted from like a ton of buildings, I think. Most basically not anything but the small profession buildings weren't counting. So I think that's a bit, I'm looking forward to that fix so I can finally build my level 3 forge and start making my plate gear. So that's really good. Moving quickly on, are garrisons in more expansions? Like, are we going to see them going forwards? They kind of said maybe on that one, didn't they, Perk? They were
it was sort of controversial because at first they said, hey, we just want garrisons to be for warlords, and people were like, but you spent all this time developing this really complex feature, and you know, it seems like it's like a lot of work not to reuse. And then they clarified that and said that while the garrison, they're not set in stone either way, but they think it makes sense to keep it in Draenor, but we could see some of the tech definitely reused for future expansions. So it's not as if they built this complex system and it's like, now we can't use anything from it again.
Exactly that. So they also said that changes to garrison music are coming soon. Thank God. I don't remember the Alliance garrison music particularly, but the Horde one is just way too epic. It's not chilled at all. So really happy to hear that. And sad but happy news, they confirmed that there
Yeah.
won't be a mobile Garrison armory. Sorry, we got you covered. We've got you covered. So we talk about Wowhead things every week in this show.
Yeah.
Every time we do it, we talk about what we've been up to on Wowhead. And one of the big things that we've been doing is the Garrison app. So Perk, we've actually automated it this time. Since we announced it before, we've actually added automation to it as well,
Yeah,
haven't we?
we've got this QR code, so if you get the special add-on from WoW Interface for the Garrison timer, we have it linked on all of our Garrison timer publicity. If you download this app, and then it will generate a QR code that you can take a picture of with your phone. And what that does is it automatically updates all of your mission timers at once. So you don't need to manually poke around or enter them and be like, oh, oops, I typed in the wrong one. What do I do? You can just take a picture of everything going on at once, and then your app just updates with that, with all the time left, and then it tells you, hey, you know, this is done.
This is done, and this is done. Yeah, I use it all the time. I just love sort of seeing, like, particularly I use it when I'm on my mage to check when my paladin stuff is done. So I can then swap back to my paladin and look at it. And we're also looking at doing support for having loads of different alts timers running at once, aren't we?
Yeah, that's I believe that, we've been doing some testing on that today even. So that's definitely something that is in the works, and we're trying to, you know, hear all of your feedback and, you know, see what we can do that will make the most people happy. You know, because there's like so many potential guys we want to do.
Yeah, and then G Shilitani in chat asks, is there a way to add the work orders automatically? Yes, it does that already. So if you're seeing that not happening, do just drop us a line to feedback@wowhead.com. Just let us know what phone you're using, obviously what OS you're working on with your Android or iPhone, and just let us know, because if that's not working, there might be a bug that we can iron out. So like Perk said, we're listening to all your feedback. And speaking of iOS, it's finally on iOS.
Yeah,
that was super frustrating
for forever, but we're finally.
Oh my goodness, yes. It was basically, just to sum up what was going on there, like, it wasn't that we were slow developing it. It was that the iOS has this, like, obviously, as you know, all the apps on the iPhone App Store are vetted, so it has to go through this approval process before it'll be put up, and it just for some reason took like days.
Yeah, whenever we had an update to the app, it just brought it to the back of the queue again.
Yeah, exactly. Xzol94 says, can you link that app? I'm going to just scroll through Wowhead and link it the post real fast. But if you, Xzol, go to wowhead.com/garrisons, you can actually just see links to the app on Android and iOS right there on that page. So it's really super handy, and we definitely suggest you check it out. We already spoke about the launch of the Highmaul guide, so a ton of good stuff there. And we already kind of touched on the magic rooster egg and how you win that. So it just literally is a comment to win, link your favorite dungeon or raid guide, and you can enter to win a magic rooster egg. I know that we've been working, Perk and I have been working together on getting in more experts to sort of broaden our range of guides. We're going to kind of leave it there as a sort of teaser. Like, we're not going to tell you more just yet, but we have got a ton of cool stuff in the works for different guides, different styles of guides. We really want to sort of broaden our guide system, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, we have all this awesome data, and you know, like, that works great for some people, but other people it's really good if they can just see all the concepts put together in a guide, or even, you know, same content but just different angles for guides. So we really like how our garrisons and raids have turned out, and we want to do even more cool stuff like that.
Exactly that. So yeah, we're just working really hard on it. And I know that Perk, you've been doing some work on follower items, follower improvements, all of that kind of stuff.
So followers are really popular on Wowhead, and we want to keep making our database and tools for followers really awesome. So I've been hearing a lot of feedback, and we've been adding tons of cool things to them. So they'll be live pretty soon. Things like, you can see all the followers from vendors at once. You'll be able to filter followers by a certain race if you want to, you know, just recruit every single follower that's a night elf. You can be able to filter
who would want to do a thing like that, Perk?
So we have tons of, you know, little things like that coming to followers. Another popular thing is followers that can, with their preset abilities, that can counter a certain mission threat. So all those things have been tested today. They'll be coming soon. And I just want to point out that we also know that a lot of people really want to track things like toys or their followers on Wowhead via the Awesome Profiler. And we really want to do that too, but if Blizzard develops that in their API, that would help us out a ton. So we've been, making posts on the API forums and emailing them, seeing if this is something that they can implement, because, it would make things a lot easier for us if they already had that information. So you could just, hit one button and then automatically all that information is on Wowhead. So
Definitely.
we love the idea. We need some information.
Yeah. So just for clarity on that, the API is this thing that basically it's the data on players, and this is kind of a very potted explanation for an API. Don't hate me, add-on authors. This is a way that basically this is the information about players that is put out there for people who do things like write add-ons and run Wowhead. So it's what we can get automatically from the information Blizzard releases freely. And unfortunately, things like followers and all of this stuff Perk was just talking about aren't on those yet, which means we can't get them easily. So like Perk says, we're asking them to put that in there, and if it continues not to be the case, maybe we'll find a workaround, but it would be so much easier if they just put them in there.
But yeah, we have tons of cool ideas.
Oh yeah, tons of cool ideas.
Also, the person asking, we have this awesome Warlords of Draenor followers guide that lists all of that. It's like our most popular guide on the
Oh my god, yeah. Again, go wowhead.com. Let's see if it's still on my clipboard note. Wowhead.com/garrisons is the place to go to get all of that information. So if you hit that link that I just posted in the chat, CCC38941, you can go to our Garrison Hub, scroll down, and there is a guide to followers linked there. It's actually a user-created guide, and it's super good. It's a really good guide.
I might write more follower guides to more specific things, but I mean, all the basics, like he breaks down, these are 10 followers in every zone. These are the ones from buildings. And it's all right there.
Yeah, it's all right there in that guide. So, getting back to the AMA, because we had a ton of stuff on the AMA regarding character models, and so there are tweaks coming. The Night Elf run animation is on the list of things to refine.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, it's a bit funny.
Sometimes I've been using the old model just because they don't have the option to change your skin color yet.
Right.
And her face is sort of expressionless, the new face with the skin color, and I don't want to... I feel like, what if I pay money and then I pick the wrong skin?
Yeah, definitely. No,
I've been using the old model, and my run animation looks nice.
Yay.
But, I would like to use the new model more.
Yeah, definitely. For me personally, with the new model of the Night Elf, like the shaggy eyebrows, I just don't like the shaggy eyebrows. They just annoy me for some reason. Like in my head, they were more like the Blood Elf ones, where they're more of a sort of spike eyebrow, and the shaggy ones are weird to me. So I hope they get fixed.
It changes the facial expression, so that's another reason.
Yeah, definitely. And they also mentioned, like, they were asked about updates to things like pets, moonkin and bear form for druids, and they said that the primary focus for warlords was on the main player models, but it's definitely something they want to do.
Maybe they'll be with the class accessories if that's in a future expansion. If some races are going to get, I don't know, quivers or books, then druids can have their forms look more awesome.
Exactly. I think that would be a really nice upgrade. And obviously, like, the thing that you have to remember with those is that with the, like, say for sake of argument, the human model upgrade, you're hitting every single player who plays a human and every single player who plays a worgen. With, like, say a model to moonkin form, you're not only hitting one class, you're only hitting one spec of one class, and of that one spec of that one class, you're only hitting the people who don't use the astral form glyph thing in that spec in that class. So the usefulness to the player base of doing it is much smaller than upgrading the character models. That said, I definitely feel the druid pain of not even being able to use the awesome new character models.
Right.
Like, I definitely get that.
You don't get transmog, you don't get character models.
Yeah, you do get to be an awesome druid, though. So there's that. Swings and roundabouts. I mean, like, what else would we like to see? I really want some facial updates. I really want my straps on my undead mage to be thicker again.
I want the skin tone option to be in the barber shop for free.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. I would definitely love to see, like, I feel like my undead run has a sort of real bouncy up-down type of problem. I don't like it very much. There's so much. I think the thing is as well, it's so personal. Like, the tweaks that we want are so personal to our characters and how we view them and what we like to see. It's tricky to sort of, we could, I'm sure you and I could talk all day about changes we want to see. Exactly. So let's not, because we're so long already. So obviously the Blood Elf models, they came out. What do we think of those?
I mean, so I have a few Blood Elf alts, warlocks. I mean, it's always hard to tell when you just see a picture of one character that doesn't look like yours from several angles, because you're like, oh, I guess this looks nice. I thought their proportions were a little off, but I think they're not meant to look exactly like humans. But yeah, those are just my general thoughts on them.
Yeah, definitely. I think personally, I thought they looked great. Someone tweeted at me with a change to the jaw and face, which I kind of liked. But I didn't mind them without it. I like the look of them. I like how they're less different. And I know that they were always shooting to keep the character models as similar as possible with the first set of changes, but I feel like they kind of swung and missed with that quite a bit. My main currently is a Blood Elf, so I'm looking forward to the upgrades for sure. Just the faces looked way more expressionful, and it's hard to tell when they're so static, but looking forward to them for sure. Looking forward to.
Cool if Artcrafts had a little video or animation.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Like a resting position, because that would help get the expressions across.
Just the idle, like that idle animation that they put up on the Warlords of Draenor page for some of them. But obviously, as soon as that data appears in the game files for the PTR or whatever, we'll get those up on Wowhead, and you'll be able to play around in the model viewer. And I certainly will be playing around in the model viewer, looking at my character as a new shiny Blood Elf. So yeah, other news that wasn't related to the AMA, and obviously there's a ton more in the AMA. Do hit Perk's post on the AMA to check it all out. We got the new Space Goat. We got the Red Cross Space Goat.
Yeah, it's not a total surprise.
No,
I mean,
sure.
They announced at BlizzCon that the Argy pet was coming on midweek. But, it's still cool. It's finally here. It's on sale. It looks adorable. And we also have the Grinning Reaver mount. We knew that it was a store mount because we saw it on the beta, but I don't think we knew it was coming on the same day. But that's here too. It's a bug. It has a great flying animation, even though you can't fly in Draenor.
Yeah. It's just so sad. It's such a cool mount. Yeah, it's $25.
For a bundle for $30 with the Space Goat.
Yeah, so the Space Goat is $10, and the bundle puts the two of them together. And it's weird. They can't, we wanted to do a giveaway. You know how we love doing giveaways. We give you stuff constantly. We wanted to do a giveaway with the Argy and the Grinning Reaver, and they can't be gifted.
Yeah, that's so sad. I mean, I hope it's not a trend, because everything was gifted, and then with the Warforged mount, that wasn't giftable.
Yeah, and it still isn't. Like, when we were putting the show notes together, I just went to double check if, it's been out for months now, that mount.
Like 5 months?
Yeah, a long time, and it's still not giftable. It's just, what? Why not? Because we can't give them to you guys if we can't gift them.
Yeah, and we just hate giving you the old ones, because a lot of you guys already have the old ones.
Yeah, it's sad. So hopefully they'll get their act together and make them giftable, and we can give you guys awesome mounts and stuff in a giveaway. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We're so long. We've been going for over an hour now, and we try to keep this to an hour, but we're bad at it because we like talking about World of Warcraft. I had one question from Demon Lord Illidan on Twitter.
Oh, our favorite topic.
Umbradomo. Oh my god, yeah. So he says, any news on that possibility to skip Tanaan jungle? I have 22 guys. That's a lot of guys. 22 guys to get to Draenor, and it's going slow. It would be with 22, my god. I've done it once, and I have 100, 98, 95, and 93, and a 92. So it's definitely possible to skip it. So I'll tell you how I've been doing it. There's almost certainly ways to do it that are superior to this, particularly if you happen to have a friend who's a warlock and another friend who are all on Draenor already.
Hopefully this doesn't get nerfed.
Yeah, hopefully this doesn't get nerfed.
Like the last time we talked about how to skip.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if this got nerfed. So, what you need is a friend who is a mage, or you can do what I did, which is, and I'm thinking in Umbradomo that if you have 22 characters, at least one of them is going to be a mage. You can level your mage to 92 to pick up the War Spear portal spell from the portal trainer in Orgrimmar. If you happen to have a friend who's a tank or a healer, you can do dungeons to do that, and then just go through Tanaan at a higher level. It's going to make it go even faster. Obviously, the tiresome bits where you have to wander along with older Archmage, what's-his-face, Khadgar there, that's still going to go at the same speed, but if you're higher level, you'll go through it more quickly. Get that Mage 92, pick up the portal, and you don't have to actually have someone else make a portal for you. This is an old trick which you used to be able to do ages ago, and it still works. So you make a party with so say it's me, Perk's my friend, I've got a mage, so I'm going to be on my mage. I'm going to get Perk to invite me to a party. I'm going to log off my mage. I'm going to log on, say, for example, my priest. I'm going to get Perk to invite my priest to the party. Perk can now AFK. Perk's all done with her job. I'm going to go log back onto my mage, and I'm going to make a portal to Warspear or to Stormshield, obviously, of your alliance, on my mage. I'm gonna log out my mage, log in on my priest. That portal will still be there and be usable by my priest as long as my priest was in the party when it was created, even though it was created by my mage. So that allows you to go straight to either Storm Shield or War Spear. I heartily recommend the purchase or the use of an alchemist for the creation of water walking potions, unless you happen to be a shaman, a hunter, what other classes could walk on water? One of the many classes.
Angler's Mount work?
The Angler's Mat would work, yes, if you happen to have that. That would definitely work. So you just need something that allows you to walk on water, because otherwise it's going to take you a really long time to get to the point before the garrison. So what you need to do next is get to the point before the garrison where the quests are picked up from. Horde has this super easy, because you just you swim to Gorgrond, run across and into Frostfire, done. Alliance is a little bit more tricky, because you have to sort of go around the houses a bit more. It's just a little bit further away, and the access points are less straightforward. But you can then get there, pick up that quest, start your garrison, you're good to go without Tanaan. So it is absolutely skippable. You do not have to do it more than once if you happen to have a mage or a friend who has a mage.
But if you have really bad boosted gear, you might just want to do Tanaan.
Oh, yeah.
Because you do get some pretty good, like, eye level 500, 510 gear from doing it.
Totally, yeah. And also, it's just worth saying that actually the chunk of XP you get from Tanaan is pretty huge. Like, you get a big amount of XP from Tanaan. So if you just really hate Tanaan, like me, then it's worth you can do that. But I would certainly advise you to go through it on as many outs as you can bear to.
Yeah, and we do have a guide to that as well, explaining where all the quests are. If you just like, I don't just stare at the screen, just tell me where to go.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely like, and just like people in chat are saying, oh my god, that sounds incredibly complicated, it's easier just to do Tanaan. It is, for sure, but by the time
we did it so many times during the beta that we've sort of hit this threshold of like, we're like 6 months into the expansion in our minds.
Yeah, by the time, and also like, as Umbra Domo says, by the time you're on character number 18, you're going to be sick to the back teeth of that zone. So this is how you can skip it, or just have a warlock and a friend to just port you straight with the warlock door to port you straight to where the garrison quests are picked up from, and you'll be absolutely fine. There's no actual requirement for the game side to do Tanaan. You just can't get to the Draenor without doing Tanaan at the moment.
Yeah, and you're definitely a person that we should ping when we add alt support for the garrison.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That would be very useful.
Definitely that. So yeah, it's definitely something that you can do, but I wouldn't feel like you had to. So I'm just looking through the Twitch chat for any questions here. We've got one from, oh goodness, raid question from Gulanga. How has Highmaul difficulty balance been received? I personally think we're too early to really have a good discussion about it.
2-3 days.
Yeah, it's only been open 2 or 3 days. I think once LFR and Mythic, once you're sort of 2 or 3 weeks in, we can kind of talk about that a bit more. I don't think it's like everyone's going, oh my god, Tectus is hard. And like Perk is able to see the traffic on the different guides.
It's really funny.
So she can see like how, like whether one guide, like, so people seem to go through Kargath pretty quickly, right? Like
well, it depends on the region. Like, I mean, so on the first, like, Kargath was viewed more in the US across more days, and Europe was looking more at the Butcher and Tectus, and now people are sort of on Tectus and Brackenspore. But it did seem that Europe was moving faster through the guides, just seeing, you know, who was most popular on the site at the time and what guide was the most highest.
Yeah, it's definitely really interesting. So it seems like Kargath is pretty straightforward, and my experience in the raid would definitely back that up.
I just think everyone wants to be like, oh, I looked at the guide for the first boss if I'm ready.
Exactly.
But I think Tectus is where most people like, that's been shooting up in page views.
Definitely, and Tectus is certainly, like, to me, doing them tricky, and Brackenspore is just one of those ones where, like, the first few pulls on it, we were just like, are we just doing something completely, like, are we just missing a trick here? Because we weren't focusing enough on the blue mushrooms. So spoilers if you're doing Brackenspore, blue mushrooms, really important. But yeah, and the Twin Ogron is like, it's a mechanics fight, and it's the fire on the floor is so hard to dodge, but I don't think we can really make a sort of like an educated statement about it at this stage.
Yeah, and I don't think, I mean, like Tuesday there was all those really bad server issues.
Oh god, yeah.
And then Europe started on Wednesday, so people just haven't really been reading too much just in this first week. I don't, obviously if you have the time and you didn't have server issues, or if your guild's focused, that's great if you got to clear all the bosses, but if you didn't, it's still just a few days into the raid.
Yeah, definitely. It's not very straightforward. There was another question here about the character model viewer, and I've now just completely lost it.
I know what it was.
Yeah.
It's really sad because sort of a recurring question is, transmog sets are awesome, but can we have a list of what an NPC is wearing on the site? Like, can we know what that NPC armor is? And, every few months, I bring it up to the devs, I think for the past 2 or 3 years, and I'm like, hey, has anything changed? Can we see this in the data? And they take another look and they tell me they'd really like to find it, but they can't. So it's something that we really want to do, but at this point it's just sort of based on Wowhead comments. If you're like, this NPC is dressed to look like tier 6, just leave a comment and link it.
Yeah.
But there's no automatic way for us to match it up just with how Blizzard has pieced together the NPC data. But it would be really cool if we could.
Yeah, definitely. And one final question then from Pyrofox, who says, I have 4,000 resources and nothing to buy. What do? And yeah, I mean, I find myself in a similar position. Buy your seals with your resources is what I'd say if you're raiding Pyrofox. Get your seals of Tempered Fate.
Or you could do stuff with the trading post.
Definitely. Yeah, build a trading post, because we've obviously got the resources here in order to create one. I suspect with that number of that number of resources, you've already got a trading post. So turn them into other things that you need. You can buy ore, you can buy flowers, you can buy all manner of crafting materials, some of which actually sell quite well on the auction house. You can turn them into even more gold. I personally feel like you can make more gold buying stuff and selling that stuff than you can make by just straight up trading them for gold.
Right.
I would also definitely save up. You need 2,100 per week in order to do your Seals of Tempered Fate quest for the 3 times with the Garrison resources. That's what I'm using mine for. And obviously with LFR opening next week, even if you're not raiding with a group, you've got the option to go in there single player and get 640 gear with a chance of 646s. So that's definitely a good thing. Missions.
How do you get seals? We have a guide to this on Wowhead, and if you type in like Seals of Tempered Fate, you're taken to a page that lists the guide, or it should be at the top of results. But basically there are four different resources that you can turn into NPCs in your capital cities, like gold, honor points, garrison resources, or Pexus crystals. And if you choose to keep using that same method, the cost increases each time. So it's an incentive to be like, oh, I'll do one with gold and like one with honor and then one with resources. So you can get 3 via quests, or you can get 1 for free if you have a level 3 Dwarven Bunker or War Mill. And if you're lucky, you can get a mission to pop up randomly that can reward you and an extra seal, and that does not count towards that 3 cap. So you could, in theory, have 3 plus however many you get from missions in a certain week.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a ton of stuff you can do with them. This is a live episode 05906. We're alive. So if my typing it's live in chat didn't prove it to you, that probably will. So I saw, is there any other questions? I think we're doing all right with questions. When Moonkin models also said to be not happening, Nerdly Squared, that's incorrect. They said that Moonkin models were something they were going to look at. They didn't say they were not happening. Just that they're coming soon. And Mark Neuquist, Gontier, I can never remember how to say his. I can never work out how to say his name. Thank you for linking the Seal of Tempered Fate guide. It is in there, and they just moved the Seal of Tempered Fate vendors, as we mentioned right at the top of the show, to an easier to find place for Horde. But yeah, we are super long, guys. It's super long. These are meant to be an hour, and we're so bad at talking for just an hour. So we're going to leave you there. Thank you so much for asking the questions. Thank you so much, Twitch chat, for coming and hanging out with us. Hi 05906, he's excited. You just caught the tail end of it. I'm really sorry.
You'll be up tomorrow.
You'll be up tomorrow on YouTube, and you can watch the whole show there. Thank you so much for coming along. You can follow me on Twitter on Olivia D. Grace. It's right here. You can follow Perk on Peculiar. It's over there above her screen. You can follow Wowhead on Wowhead, and as always, you can find out a ton of information about everything we've talked about in the show today. Do go read the full AMA summary post that Perk put together for more from the AMA, and everything else, all of the guides, all of the Garrison guides, all the follower guides, raid guides, dungeon guides, healing guides, bold guides, spec guides. Every guide in the game that you could ever possibly want is up on wowhead.com, so do go check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.